Question, Roberto. He says, please settle the online debate. Can you confirm if Golden Boy did indeed offer Jermall Charlo a Canelo match for May of 2019? There's been a lot of talk about that online, but we don't know for sure. But could you answer that question?
Absolutely. Eric Gomez called out, made him an offer, and I believe, and it was a few years ago, but I believe the reply was, we are worlds apart. And the offer was more than Charlo's made so far. So, I mean, but, you know, obviously when it's a Canelo fight, everybody wants, and that's the difference today. A lot of fighters see that Canelo as the sweepstakes, the lottery ticket. If I fight him, I got my retirement check, win or lose or draw. And that's not how it was in the past. You know what? Sugar Ray Leonard fought Marvin Hagler because I want to beat him and I want to go down as the greatest and I believe I can beat him. And, you know, Duran fought, you know, they all fought each other. Why? Because they believe they can win, or they wanted to try to win and be great and go down in history. And that's not what we're having today. Right now,
those are the words of Roberto Gomez, okay, as he shut down the rumor, or the debate, rather, of Oscar De La Hoya from Golden Boy sending an offer to Al Haymon's Jermall Charlo. And there you have it. And the offer, it wasn't specific. It wasn't like 5 million, 6 million, but we did already know what they were. I believe it was 5 million because Oscar De La Hoya, I believe it was last year or the year before, already proclaimed like, hey, we sent you an offer. We sent an offer to Al Haymon and Showtime or Fox or whatever he worked with or whoever he worked with. And this is the reply. Al Haymon replied back, we are worlds apart. Now, I want people to understand what Jermall Charlo's reply was. Jermall Charlo's reply was, he never received an offer. Okay? And that offer wasn't real, or they never sent it like they claimed they did. You know, Oscar De La Hoya's lying. Okay, this wasn't Oscar De La Hoya. This is Roberto saying this, okay, from Golden Boy. Oscar De La Hoya is not the only one that works at Golden Boy, all right? So you have to understand that the people that put things in motion at Golden Boy is not really De La Hoya. He's the CEO, okay? There's other people in hands and strings that are being pulled, and things are happening at Golden Boy, and these were one of the things that happened at Golden Boy, all right, according to Roberto Gomez. Now, Jermall Charlo claiming he didn't have that. I'm not calling Jermall Charlo a liar. I think the same thing that happened to Jermall Charlo happened to Luis Ortiz. Okay, when it came to fighting someone on a different platform, going over to a competitor. See, when you're a network or you're in head of a network, okay, and your model and your base model is something totally different. It doesn't matter about the dollar amount. That's not your concern, okay? Your concern is not getting your fighter paid for the most money. That's not your concern. Your concern is keeping that fighter on the same platform that you promote. Okay? Let's take Deontay Wilder, for example. It wouldn't have mattered, I think, if it was 150 million that they offered Deontay Wilder. Al Haymon wouldn't have allowed Shelly Finkel, which was Shelly Finkel's fighter, was Deontay Wilder, to take a deal like that. Not if it's in his power. Not for none of that type of money. Because he knew, I'm not going to take my fighter and deliver my fighter with the only bargaining chip, which was the WBC at the time he had. He was the WBC heavyweight champion. Over there to dazn, which is my competitor, and allow my competitor to win this particular battle. That is not going to happen. Okay, so Al Haymon, what he did, he put shit in motion to shut things down like that. See, understand, Al Haymon is not about getting paid or getting his fighters paid the most money going to here, over there. Yeah, he's going to take care of you as long as you're over here. Okay, that's just like this. Let's look at it this way. Let's say Al Haymon worked for AT&T. He was like, and AT&T is GSN. Versus, and he had people that work for him. Let's say he had a Wilder that worked for him at AT&T. Well, why would then you have Anthony Joshua working for Verizon and Eddie Hearn working for Verizon? Do you think that Deontay Wilder went to Al Haymon and said, well, hey, you know what? We have a deal to merge for $30 million. Do you think Al Haymon would give a shit about that $30 million? He would give a shit about the company that he works for, not merging anything. So he would take merging for these fights to come together. Maybe that wasn't the great analogy, but, you know, if Al Haymon's whole base model and what he's familiar with is pay-per-view, there is no way he's going to allow his fighter, which in this case now, Jermall Charlo, to go over there to Golden Boy. That's why Jermall wasn't even notified. Okay, nobody knew anything until Oscar De La Hoya, said, hey, we offered Jermall Charlo a fight. His people turned it down. His people turned things down, and those people turned things down without even letting the fighter know. You know what that looks like to me? That looks like control. Okay? That looks like control in the worst way, because they dictate what a fighter gets or gets notified on or not. Now the Luis Ortiz don't look that bad, because at least I used to be the one. Okay, well, maybe he doesn't speak English, so everything that they say he doesn't really come across his desk or through his way is because he doesn't really speak the language, so nobody really cares to share that with him. But Jermall Charlo is a guy that speaks English and should know everything that came on or went on about him. But it didn't matter to Al Haymon, because there's no way in hell that he's going to allow Jermall Charlo, an undefeated champion, doesn't matter how he got the belt, to go over to dazn, because that's the competitor. Okay? It's a war going on right now, people, between pay-per-view, Showtime, right? That's a business model, and dazn subscriptions. Pretty soon, what we have now, what we're dealing with smart TVs are the normal. Smart TVs are the normal. So when you have apps and everything like that, so that's where things are going to. Whereas things of pay-per-view, that's the older model, where you pay-per-view and you pay and you have cable and you know what I mean? And you pay for this particular service, and then, that's how fights are getting money, and that's how people are making, an upside to fights. But what's happening with that? A lot of illegal things, because the fights are too high. The fights are too high, and if they don't get their mind right, they're going to wind up losing that business model due to capitalism, okay? Aggressive sales, overcharging, those type of things happen. Blockbuster, they saw it. Hollywood, they saw it. It hit them like a ton of bricks, and then by the time it hit them, they had nowhere to go. That's why Al Haymon is adamant on, hey, I'm going to keep this long as I possibly can, and there will be no way anything in my power I will allow to happen or to go on with everything going on the way it is. Okay, it's pushing towards that way. DAZN was going to happen anyway. Okay, that's like, why do you think you have ESPN2? You have ESPN2 because ESPN2 is that app service, because ESPN knows, hey, things are going to apps these days, and we need things because people are on the go. People are really not at home. People want to see that fight right before. They don't want to wait all the way until they get home to see a fight or to see a game or to see whatever. They want to see it right from where they're at. That's the whole point. The app's there, bloop, you know, it's there for access. And you're watching whatever you're watching from an HD TV miniatured screen. Okay, that's what we're dealing with. But it just goes to show you that Al Haymon is not he's not doing the best for the fighters. He's doing the best for his business model. In the meantime, he can do the best that he can by paying his fighters the best that he can pay his fighters with who the fighters are that he can control. Okay? That's pretty much the gist of it. But anyway, you guys tell me what you think of Roberto Gomez breaking this wide open and saying that Al Haymon denied that deal for Jermall Charlo. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace.